The changing landscape of the housing market in Las Vegas requires a real estate professional that understands how to get your offer accepted, willing to go above and beyond for service and accountability. Hi, my name is Dan French. I've been in the real estate and financing industry for over 13 years. Most real estate agents struggle with answering their phone. Please call me directly, 702-557-6176. I'm available for all your real estate needs.
Dan's a fantastic man. He really is.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Hey, welcome guys. This is Dan French. This is the French Workbench Podcast here on a Tuesday. I have a full studio. My usual co-hosts, we're going to go around and introduce everybody as we always do, see what's up with them. You guys know this is the most real and behind-the-scenes information for financing, real estate, money talk, entrepreneurs, and really everything Las Vegas. Everybody out there thinks we're going to just talk about real estate and financing. No, we're going to talk about ladies getting their nails done and talk about, I'm just playing. We're not going to go that far. So anyways, you guys know this is the channel. Like and subscribe to this channel, please. We have a lot of good information we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk a lot about what's happening here in Las Vegas. Is the Las Vegas Strip, is it safe, right? We need to know. We're going to have our opinions here on this, and you guys can chime in. If you guys have any questions on anything that's going on, please hit the comment, and we'll get the comments that you guys have, and we'll try to answer your questions. Also, we're going to talk about what's going on with buyer sentiment, right? Home buyer sentiment, how it's declining. Steve's going to talk about that. We're going to talk with Esmeralda about what's going on with solar and some of the things and challenges that people are going through. And we're also going to talk with Doug here, and we're going to introduce everybody here in a second. But Doug's going to talk a lot about what's happening with the new construction, top 10 construction sites for commercial. And we're going to talk with him about that. Also, to cap this off, we're going to give you guys a market update, and we're going to give you guys a lot of information on what's happening with unemployment and the Fed. So let's get right into it, right? Everybody, you guys all look chipper today. What's going on with you today, Esmeralda Lucia? How are you?
Great. I'm great.
How's life? You got any excitement going on to the show? Like, I felt like you were coming in to crush it, and then now you're like, wait, solar?
No. Well, solar was something I'm looking into for my house, and I thought it was a good topic to talk about. And I just wanted to get you guys' opinion on this, since I know you guys deal with multiple homes, owners.
Yes.
And I just wanted to get your feedback. Would this be a wise decision to move forward?
I mean, I have my opinions on solar, and you guys know I'm going to give you my opinion, even if you don't like it. I don't care. You're going to get it. All right. So we're all going to give your opinion on solar. But so you want to talk a lot about what's going on with solar.
Yeah.
I know it sounds a lot of, same topic situations, but I think what you're talking about is there's certain situations that's coming in with your family or friends or somebody that's gone through this, right?
Well, what I wanted to talk about was really the benefit of it, and for me, right? So I'm looking to buy it, or I'm thinking about it, and for what I think the benefits. I'm not saying that they are, but I would like to get input on everybody. If A, you have it, B, you've known some of the positive and some of the negative, because I only know the surface of it. I know the positive, right? Hey, my bill's going to be $12.
Well, let's do this. Let's get into that topic here in a second, because
that's the attractive
we're
part
going to dive
right?
into this here in a second. So also I want to introduce Mr. Steve. What's going on, buddy? Back from
What's
KB
happening?
home. What's going on, man?
I just got back from Hawaii.
Oh, wow. Where did you go?
I went to Waikiki.
So you go there a lot?
Everybody's got solar there.
Everybody has
Really?
solar
Yeah,
there.
everybody's got solar there. It's a big push there. EV,
Wow.
solar.
Yeah.
That's an island. They need it. You know?
They need that, right?
Yeah.
So what did you do out there, man? Did you go surfing?
No. Do I look like a surfer to you?
I love Waikiki.
I thought you were catching some waves, man.
Loose. I did hang loose.
Did you do like the what is it that what is it when they shake their hips? Did you go check those out?
Luau?
The luau. Did you do a luau?
We did a luau, yeah.
Dude,
Luau was fantastic.
First thing I would do is like, hey, honey, I got to go over here and check out the luau.
Oh,
you can
no,
go and,
we
you know,
did it, man. It was great.
Oh, she went with you.
Oh, yeah.
She don't care. Doug, what's up, buddy? How are
you doing, Dan?
Good, man. What's going on in your world?
I just got back from the golf course today.
Dude, what's up with the golf course? Everybody's going to the golf course.
Well,
nice
you know,
weather.
I mean, it's perfect weather and work has slowed
weather,
down,
yeah.
and you know.
So you said,
Gotta-
you know what?
gotta make
Instead
hay
of
while the sun's
instead of this,
shining,
grind thing, which I don't care about right now. You know, you already established yourself. Like you're not 20 years old again. You got to enjoy your life, man.
Yeah, kind of. And the kids are getting out of the house, so I'm.
Dude, you got an extra 5K right there a month.
Yeah.
Dang.
Except for when they call up and say, "Hey, yeah."
No wonder why you're out golfing. Where else are you gonna go, man? You got
I actually
plans
went with
now?
my kid. My kid got time off this week, so he came down here to see us, and we went out and shot some.
Time off. He called into work.
Dude.
He works for the government, right?
Oh, okay.
Hey, you know what, man? That's good because a lot of people, in this time, because it's starting to slow down. Everybody's starting to golf or do something else a little bit, right? They're not as busy. I think also in the industry that we're in, real estate, lending, you're in real estate, title. I mean, it's all just kind of slowing down. Everybody's kind of focusing on other things. I think if you're going to do it now, right?
Yeah,
If you got October, and we're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
The economic outlook, all of us have an opinion on this, and I think it's a different opinion in the end of 2022 and 2023, heading into 2023. So let's get right into it. All right. So let's go ahead and get right into what we're going to talk about. All right. So everybody out there knows that right now on the Las Vegas Strip, there's been a lot of news that's come out. And the news is that there's a lot of crime. There's been a lot of things that people are, skeptical on. And what I want you guys to talk about here today with us also and kind of chime in is, would you guys travel to Las Vegas, right? Because Las Vegas is now becoming on the map. People are starting to see that Las Vegas, the Strip itself, is starting to become unsafe, or at least has that aura about that it's unsafe. So, what are your thoughts on this whole situation? We just had somebody come out. I want to bring this up that there's been numerous occasions where somebody's either gotten hit or stabbed or something's going on or killed. And it's sad to say that, right? Las Vegas Strip, everybody thinks like, oh, it's the greatest place to go. And, it's the, entertainment capital of the world. It's really the playground for adults, but yet it's starting to become dangerous. And why do you think that is? I'll start with you, Doug, and then we'll go over to Steve and then you.
Yeah, I think one of the things is you got the media that portrays it however they want to put it out there to the public, because I think that there's been a lot of stuff that has gone on the Strip that we've never known about. And so when the media puts it out there for us, everybody to see, there's some kind of motive for doing that. I don't know what it is. I got a few friends in the PD and they Metro, and they, there's things that go on that Strip all the time. North Strip, South Strip, doesn't matter. I mean, things go on. It's no less safe now than it ever has been. I mean, they publicized, and it was really sad to see what happened to the showgirl and then that other kid that got hit. I guess got ran over by a vehicle. But we used to have. We worked on those flamingo, the pedestrian flyovers, the walkovers. I was a part of that, but people were getting hit all the time, left and right down there on the Strip, and you get drunk and you get into the road and it's your fair game. So
yeah,
I don't think it's any less safe now than it has been. I think there's been some publicity going on, whatever the motive has been. I don't think the Strip is unsafe. You always got to have your head on a swivel, no matter what city you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you got to think that the Strip breeds this type of environment in a sense that people are here to have fun, but also you get all types of walks of people in life, right? Everybody, like the people that you're talking to are high on something. They have some emotional problems mentally. There's all kinds of things. No, it's true. I mean, there's really some issues mentally out there that people need to really look at. And I don't
go to the North Strip. I mean, I've been doing home inspections here for about 20 years.
Yeah.
And the things that I've seen, I mean, I've worked late nights on construction projects. There's some pretty wild shit that goes on.
Crazy stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's stuff that just kind of, everybody that lived here and saw what was going on.
Well, I think so. Steve, what do you think? I mean, why do you think the Strip is actually showing it's showing a lot more issues. You have to have more police. You got more cameras. It's not stopping these people from doing the things that they do. So why do you think that the Strip? I know the media is all about it, right? It does a lot for getting numbers and ratings, but I mean, it's still there. You know, we still see it. Why do you think it's increasing?
We're becoming a bigger city.
Yeah.
Population.
Is that all?
growth.
That's your biggest.
Well, no. That's part of it. I mean, it's a combination of things. We're developing into an international. It's always been an international travel destination, but most people, prior to the 90s, it was an adult playground. Then it became a kids playground, meaning, you know, you got the
Family
fire,
friendly,
you got the volcano
yeah,
going and
yeah.
all that. So the growth of the population, it becomes a bigger city. You bring in more crime.
I just don't see though that. I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but I see something different. I see there's more. People are just more ballsy. I mean,
Well,
the reality is you have people walking by you. They don't really have any. I don't know. It's just like they don't have any withheld of going to you and saying, hey, you know what? Like carrying a knife like this person did. Who would do that 10, 15, 20 years ago? I mean, I'm sure people carried knives, but just a big butcher knife, right? That
Well,
recently happened. Like
The
who's
media said he was an undocumented citizen too. So I mean, you got
Non-citizen.
what's non-citizen.
Yeah, but I mean,
So you got those. You know, you got people like that coming out. They don't got nothing to lose.
Well, people don't have consequence anymore to their actions.
that's where I'm going.
So
is,
they
Yeah.
feel emboldened,
right.
and they'll do whatever they want because they know they're going to get a slap on the wrist, and they'll be back out in another day and doing it again.
So would you guys go to the Strip right now? Like, do you feel comfortable going down the Strip without a problem right now?
Not unless I'm packing.
See, you're different. See, would you say the same thing 10 years ago? Probably
No,
not, right?
I was a different person then.
Well, I think the crowds were different, the mindset, and you didn't have all the.
I think the times are different.
Yeah.
You know, 10 years ago, that kind of person would have got dragged into a casino, brought out and back, and PD
Oh,
would
yeah,
have
for
came
sure.
and took them away, and you wouldn't have heard nothing about it. Nowadays, everybody's got a camera. It goes on social media. It's sensationalism, and that's all the news wants to focus on is the negativity. Everybody wants to breed negativity. Well, if you want to breed negativity, you're not going to have any production.
What about you, Esmeralda? What is your thoughts on it?
You hit that.
So I had a few. So I read the story and I heard it on the news, and for me, in my opinion, it didn't add up the story because it said that this man. So I know that the reason the showgirl got stabbed was because she didn't want to take a picture with him.
Right.
Well, I wouldn't either. Somebody has a knife. I'm like, okay, calm down. Well, what I thought was interesting was that they said that there was 6 or 8 other people that got stabbed. So you mean to tell me there's a man on the Strip and no one in the Strip can tackle this man? Are you kidding me right now?
Well, but he's got a
wielding
butcher
12-inch
knife.
So what?
So-
you can
so
still
here's-
get him from the back. Like, there's no one that can, like, you mean tell me 2 dudes cannot grab it from him and take it? Like,
I think
don't
our
know.
society too is a little bit hesitant because.
No, but nobody heard nothing
Well,
either.
I know, but nobody wants to get involved. I don't know if it's just because of being like there's some people out there that are heroes or they go out there and they try to get involved and make things. Like I would say I would do that. I'm pretty confident I would do that. But what if you have your kids with you, or what if you have your wife with you? It's like
They're on vacation. They're not looking for that.
And it's almost like by the time that it hits,
right.
it's like, is it already done? I mean, he could have went like 6, 7 slashes, and by the time you know what's happening, you turn around and there's.
But if you read the story and the way they said that he stabbed that woman many times.
Right,
So
but
when
maybe
you're
the people,
stabbing
maybe
somebody,
the people that died besides her, maybe they did try and stop him. Maybe someone did because he stabbed 6 other people, as you
right?
said.
But they said that nobody heard it or saw it. So
You
you
don't
mean to
hear
tell
it.
me this lady is a showgirl with a thin outfit? You're not going to see blood in her yelling?
People are in their own thing when they're
I'm
walking on the
sorry.
strip.
I'm sorry. That's a bogus story. It doesn't add up in my book. I analyzed it. I thought about it. And even if you didn't or you couldn't do nothing, you can call 911.
Well,
You
he
can
was
make-
supposedly too. He was wanted in California for something as well. Why wasn't he detained there? How would he get here for an entire year? Supposedly he was on medical treatments that he should have been on his meds or something. I don't know. You can't believe everything anymore.
And I feel like we should have more security. There should have been a lot more security.
You can't stop everything.
No, you can't, but they should have. I mean, like,
So
there should have been
my
more
thing
people.
is this. Okay, so if you're in that position, right, and you think that you're going to be able to stop it, it's hard because you don't know until you're in that position. I think we're kind of getting off topic about stopping the person
Well, not
altogether.
stopping, but you can call somebody.
I think what I'm trying to get at is people have this misconception, I think, that Vegas in general is now an unsafe place to be on the Strip. I mean, they glorify putting out this negative publicity and news. And I'm not saying it's not more dangerous, because it is. Let's be honest, people. I mean,
Yeah, but
we're
look
at
at the
different
shooting
times.
that happened, at that concert at Mandalay Bay. How many people got? I mean, there's somebody firing.
Well, just the thought of the guy planning that is what's wrong with society, is that people feel either suicidal, like this guy supposedly he told the cops he wanted to get shot by the cops, suicide by cop. So there are mental issues out there, mental health issues out there that are a big problem now.
I'd sure like to know the whole story behind that, because like you said, you analyzed that. Being in the Marine Corps, knowing how a weapon can be fired from that distance and that accurate, that doesn't add up. Those windows.
Well, I
you
feel like there
can't
was
shoot
more
through-
people in that room.
You can't shoot that window out either. So you have to have some kind of, that those windows are designed so you can't.
Well, look at
that's a whole different story.
So,
but
so the
there's
question
a lot
is
of-
this. The question is this, though. Is
It goes back to the media.
I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't be at the Strip right now. I wouldn't feel comfortable.
so
I
that's
thought about
the
it.
question. You don't feel comfortable.
No, I would
and-
be packing. And I'm
okay.
a woman. I wouldn't go I wouldn't be empty-handed. My little purse will have something.
So
I would
look,
be walking with
statistics though,
something.
but statistics says how many people visit here versus something like that happening is probably very, very, very small margin, right? It's a very small margin. But what it's doing is it's triggering you to go ahead and have or need the idea that you want to go ahead and pack a gun or whatever you're doing, right?
I mean, I would have a weapon, something.
Well, listen,
I'd be
you have to,
scared.
but what I'm thinking is it less safe? And I feel like in your mindset it is. Do you feel it's a less safe area for people that are traveling here or potentially
I
wanting
feel
to
like
move
you
here?
should be cautious. I feel that you should be more alert and more aware
Whenever
of your
you go
surroundings.
out,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
But I feel like now that you see that, you're like, okay, well, now I need to really be paying attention to my surroundings, which I always do.
Yeah.
Like about everything. When I drive, where I go, I always go different routes. Like I'm just weird like that. But I think that with that being said, now people are going to be more cautious. Absolutely. They're going to be holding on to their kids and, making sure.
What about
it's
you? I
safe.
mean, you think do you have a concealed weapons permit? I know you were at the Marines, no?
Yeah.
You do.
Of
I mean,
course he does.
I have one.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I have one. I mean, I don't have to hide about it. I mean, do I carry a gun all the time? No, I don't. But I do have one. I
Yeah.
do have guns. I keep them. I'm very responsible with them.
Yeah.
And it's not like I feel like I have to go outside the house to have a gun. But you got to think that as more and more of these things come into play, would you want to have something on you in case something like that happens to save other people as well, right? What if you're that person that you see something happens to them or starts to happen, and before it gets to that, second, third, or fourth person, that person's down already?
Yeah, it's a funny thing how that happens, because the minute you use that weapon, you have to know
You better kill him.
exactly. Yeah, because once you
I would
point
be
it,
scared.
once you point it, it's done. You have two choices. You either take it or they take it.
Yeah.
So I mean, people really got to understand what the concealed weapons is really all about. I mean, it's and I understand because my daughter's the same way. She has her stuff that she uses, and she just goes to UNLV. She has to walk across the parking lot at night sometimes, yeah. So the thing is there's no coming back, and then if you're you become the product of a crime when you use it. In the media's eyes, the media can actually turn that whole thing around, and
they will.
And then you become the
victim.
product of the
Well,
crime.
here's my
Yeah.
here's my thing though. So if you're in that area or the vicinity of where that's happening,
Yeah.
wouldn't you feel that you're threatened?
Yeah, you would, and
I mean, I'm not saying you're running across
Steve
the
was
street
saying,
to shoot somebody, but
everybody's got video now.
Yeah.
It's like so you've got to be absolutely sure and 100% of what you're doing before you do it. And
What about you, Steve? I mean, what do you feel? I mean, you feel like going down to Las Vegas, you're not going to worry about. You said you're going to pack a gun. Are you serious
I
about
have
that?
a CCW. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna risk my family or my life for somebody who is maybe not a citizen or some mental health issue
Yeah.
or
But you wouldn't know though.
But the thing is, if I'm not prepared, I was a Boy Scout. You always got to be prepared.
You got to be prepared. Yeah.
You know, and in this day and age, you know, I grew up where you didn't have to worry about locking your door.
Right.
You didn't have to worry about locking your car door. That's how I grew up, but the world isn't that way anymore.
And you would think in a high volume area like the Strip, I mean, we can't count how many things have happened where these people got caught and put to jail, but you would think that they would be more hesitant. It just blows my mind how they're just, I don't care about what's out there.
To them, it's easier because the more people are around, the easier it is for them to escape, or the easier it is to commit the crime and get away with it.
But you also have cameras. You got more security, more police officers
but
down
if
there.
you're a professional criminal or life criminal,
Yeah.
you don't care about that. You're
Yeah,
going
they're
to
just-
do what you're going to do, and you're going
Right.
to run, and you're going to get away. And if you make it, you make it. If not, you're going to go to jail, and you're going to know your buddies.
It's true.
3 hots and a cot.
That's it.
You guys have anything else to say? Because I wanted to bring this up because I think it all affects us here in Las Vegas. We live here. I didn't grow up here, but I've been here for over 20 years. And I think it's just mind-boggling where when I first came here, I would be completely shocked if I heard some of the news that comes out today. Just like, I can't even believe that happened. Now it's almost like, oh, it happened again.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost becoming normal, right?
Well, I'll tell you this: my sister, some of them work at the Strip, and you know, when I was just like, "Hey, did you hear about this?" They're like, "Yeah," and my sister, you know, made me sad. She was like, "I'm scared now to walk from my car because the garage or whatever." And I'm just like,
Well, the casinos have always had that. People would always watch. People hit, you know, winnings, and they'd follow them out to the parking lot, steal the money. So there's always been that inherent
"Oh, really?"
element of crime, but it was petty crime. These aren't petty crimes anymore. You know, this is mass casualties. These are, you know, people going and trying to hurt as many people as possible for no reason. So, you know, the petty crimes of the old days are gone.
I'm going to say this last thing. What do you guys think is going to, what would be safe for the Strip moving forward? Like, do you think we're doing everything we can as a city?
I just think having more securities, more cameras.
I mean, but we already have that. Like, is there anything else? I mean, I'm sure. Look, what did the news and the police officers do when that happened? They wanted to make sure that the public knew it was taken care of right away and everything. But the damage was done, right? The damage is done because you can't hide it. You can't hide. The Strip is one of the biggest money producing. Obviously, it's the biggest producing for Las Vegas or Nevada itself. They don't want to make light that there's issues down there, but we know there's issues, right? We know there's problems. So you can say, well, it's cameras. They can do more. Is it that, or is it just, I mean, it's just going to be just the new normal, right? That's kind of where I'm going with it.
Well, I think biggest thing is when you're like, especially if you're coming from in and out of town, I think it's probably very beneficial to stay in groups. Don't go off on your own. I mean, that's I was in Chicago one time and actually in South Philly, and I was off on my own, and it wasn't a good thing. I mean, it's just you, and so I think the biggest thing is if you stay in groups, you stay with a bunch of people, you're less likely to have any kind of incidents. I think that's probably one of the big things.
So you think being in groups of people?
I think being in groups of people. I know my daughter, she goes when they go, because she does a lot of marketing stuff for iHeart, and she does different events, but there's always a bunch of people around. They always go with the big group of people, which is actually really, it's smart. And they all know, like I've always told my daughter, nothing good ever happens after 10 o'clock in Vegas on Strip or, really in any big city. So I said, just watch yourself. And she's pretty savvy to that stuff. So I think the big thing is staying in groups, especially if you're coming in from out of town. It's not a playground. Nothing is ever completely safe. So just keep your head on a swivel.
Absolutely. So let's move on to our next topic. We are going to talk to Mr. Steve over here from KB Home.
Don't buy solar.
We're going to talk about don't buy solar. He's going to talk about what's happening with home buyer sentiment right now.
I knew I was going to get
home buyer confidence is completely gone, and we're going to talk about that here with Mr. Steve here. So, Steve, talk to me about why consumer confidence and consumer sentiment is declining. And also, what are some of the challenges you're seeing with new homes and the new home sector with costs? Are people still buying? So kind of take it away here.
Well, Dan, now that you brought it up, I think some of the topic we were just talking about lends a little bit to that because it creates a fear in society, and people have fears because all you read in the news or see on the TV is negativity. All you see is people getting stabbed. You're worried, can you go to the strip? Or, hey, we saw this in '08. Is it going to happen again? If I buy this house, and you got everybody and their brother telling you, don't buy now. Well, I'm a believer that people are going to do what they're going to do. You can't change their mind unless you offer them a good opportunity. I think opportunities are out there, and I think consumer sentiment might be low and people are at the sideline, but I still see demand there. There's still a demand. I get people coming in, maybe not as many anymore, but some people just have to buy a house.
So I'm gonna ask you something, and I think a lot of people maybe can go with this. Consumer sentiment and buyer sentiment is declining. I feel like it's declining week over week. Now, the question I have though is, are we in a territory where I'm gonna say most of us have never been? We're kind of in an uncharted water. I'm gonna tell you why. So you could say, well, back in 2007 and 8, we had all the crash, right? The crash happened. You maybe, if you're a millennial today, you witnessed your family or your parents go through that. Maybe your grandparents. But now the new regime has come in, right? It's the millennials, right? And it's the next generation after that. And I feel that it's a lot of new information and new territory. When is the last time you've seen people this, I would say pessimistic? That's a good word. Pessimistic about buying in this market, because these people know that rates are at an all-time high. They know that prices are still high, even though they're declining. So I almost feel that it is the family. But
interest rates for home interest rates?
Well, interest rates in the last 10 years are at all-time high, right?
Okay.
So you look at the last 10 years, we haven't seen these rates in the last 10 years. You combine that with all-time highs in homes, right? So now people are out there thinking, well, I've never seen this before. So why would I want to go into something that I'm like really not into or I'm not really confident with? And I think that's the problem, is these people that are buying today, a lot of them are just not confident. And the media then pushes it even further because they're like, oh man, it's going to crash. YouTube. So with that sentiment, confidence declining, right? Do you feel we're in uncharted waters? I think that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, I think you can analyze it all day long on what we've always looked at as indicators of where the market's going, but we covered this in the last session I was in with you. When you look at the chart for 10 years, prices never really went down. They may have dipped, but they kept going up from 2008 to 2018. You put a chart up on your screen for everybody to see. Prices never really went down. They dipped a little bit, but went back up again. And I think that's what we're going to see again. Prices have come down. We've made adjustments. I think prices will maybe come down more. I don't know. I don't have that crystal ball, but rates are going to go up. But what if rates go down? Then you miss the boat. But maybe prices will go back up. Cost of goods are still high. Inflation is still there. I think everybody's feeling the squeeze all together. You know what I mean? Some people aren't, like for my children who are 27 and 31 years old, yeah, they feel it's unattainable for them now. But, I tell them, focus on you. Don't listen to the static. Don't listen to what's out there. Yep. Focus on your world and what can you do to attain that goal. Is it putting $500 a month away so you have your down payment in 2 years? What is it? What's it going to take?
Well, this article that you were reading was from Bloomberg,
From
right?
Bloomberg, yeah. And consumer confidence is always a sketchy thing for me because who's doing this? Who's doing the statistics? And what are they trying to say? It's like stock market. You go on Kramer and Kramer is pushing a stock. Why? Does he own 100,000 shares of that company?
Right.
And he wants you to buy it so he can sell it?
Well, I think too, and I'm not going to say that I don't agree with some of the things. I'm going to say that I think a lot of people think when we talk about on the show about real estate, that it's real estate, has a real estate agenda behind it and a financing agenda. And we've talked about this before. And it's not really about saying go buy. I think it's more about we're giving you data and information and also some articles that come out that have very interesting impact on how things run and how things work here, not just in Las Vegas, but across the country, right? And so when you look at your situation with buyers going into new homes, convince me or just tell me what you would tell a buyer going in to buy a house today from you or from any builder, and some of the challenges on your side of it, and also some of the challenges on the buyer side of it.
Well, the biggest rate for the buyer today are the interest rates. They're fluctuating so fast and so much. There's an uncertainty is, okay, well, if it's going to take 6 to 8 months to build that home, what's my rate going to be in 6 to 8 months? And they have no idea. And we've got a tool for that. You know what I mean? So,
but you're not married to that rate. And that's what I say. And I'm not going to say, look, rates go up and down, and I understand. Like,
it's affordability, though.
Well, it's affordability. Exactly.
Am I going to be able to make that payment for the next year? Because the other thing in that article is, how's unemployment going to be? Are we going to start seeing layoffs? And if unemployment goes higher, are people going to have to sell their homes because they're going to be in huge credit card debt? They can't afford to make the mortgage payment. Now what do? They lose their job? Are we back into an 08 situation again? No, I don't think so.
I feel that people are, though, doing paycheck to paycheck. They are running up their credit cards.
Yeah,
they don't have any other choice. And the problem is this. So I want to bring this up because it's interesting.
It's intentional.
It's intentional. Yeah, and I'm going to say, I want to say, and you guys can tell me, is we all know the M Casino out here, right? The M Casino's on the Las Vegas Boulevard. Very prominent, figure for being on the it's always on the opposite end. So when you're coming in from Las Vegas, that's literally the first casino you see on the right-hand side. Now, they're going to be...
Raiders built right next to it. Why?
Yeah, exactly. They're adding a tower. And so you see the Las Vegas Strip still thriving. You see casinos building. You got the Fertitas. I think they're still building the station casinos, right? They're still
at Sunset.
Right.
Sunset 215.
So it makes you think, like, okay, why are they being able to build these properties? And they have to have people to go to them. People want to gamble. They're willing to spend their money still. And I'm just saying, when you look at these things and the confidence that they have and that consumers are going to continue to, that tells me that they still believe in the economy and they still believe that things are going to keep moving steady as we go, right?
But they have the deep pockets to weather a storm. When you're talking about a homeowner who maybe has 2 or 3 children, both people are working in the household, and they're living paycheck to paycheck, these folks don't know whether they're going to have a job in 6 months.
Well,
so that's, and then with all the negativity they're hearing about where the economy's going, their fears are really high. So when you try to address that, you may have all the tools in the world to say, well, don't worry about the rate. We could lock it with long-term rate locks, low interest rates. We can do all these things, and we can, but how do you instill or how do you take the fear out of that person? Because they're going to go back home and they're going to go grocery shopping. They're going to put gas in their car, and their kids are going to say, I need this, I need that. How do you overcome that? Well, you say that. You say, well, listen, the Fertitas, they do a lot of analysis. They know in 5 or 10 years, the market's going to be great again.
Yeah.
So why would you not invest in your own real estate? Why would you not buy that home? Because most people have that ATM attitude again, or they still have that attitude, well, I don't want to be underwater in a year. Well, what does it matter? Are you moving in a year? Or I don't want a 7% interest rate. Well, you're not married to that rate, are you?
Right.
What if it drops to 3 again? We have another pandemic. What are you going to do then? I'm going to refinance. Well, there you go.
Well, yeah, and then it kind of goes to show, too, that even during the recessions or whatever you want, downturns in the economy, it's usually the people that have money that actually
they buy the
dip. They buy the dip.
That's right.
And they grow their money like
I'm
crazy.
buying the dip right now.
Well, yeah, and I had a friend of mine that he became exceptionally wealthy during the last crash.
That's right.
And I lost everything. So it's like, it's
well, look,
one of the two things, that
yeah.
people with money can actually weather the storm.
But you don't need money per se. You need, like, we give inside information because we're in the business.
Right.
So you need the right advice.
Yeah.
Like I said, a buyer can come in and they'll be all like, yeah, I want to do this. And they go home and they talk to their uncle, brother, sister, cousin, and then, what are you, crazy, buying a house at this time?
But they're not the experts.
That's my point. Is people take advice from everybody. Well, you know what? Do a little diligence. Do your homework. Listen to the right people or get the right advice from people who are in the business, and then take it from there. Make an educated decision. But, everybody's used to, well, what do I do in a year if the market tanks? Well, stay in your home. If you got a job, stay in your home.
Yeah, I just think it's not the sexy time of year, right, for people to even engage on real estate topic. It's weird because people have mentally just checked out.
Yeah.
And what I mean is, it's not even, people aren't even trying to focus on, can I do it or not? They're probably focusing on 2023 at this point.
Well, we came out of a pandemic. Think about it. You know, everybody was cooped up in their house for almost a year, and then everybody starts to go back to work, and they're afraid, oh, am I going to catch it again? Oh, I got to mask up again. You know, now that the masks are off and things are back to normal, people are afraid. So you get all this crazy financial stuff happening. It's like, okay, now I just survived COVID. Am I going to survive a job?
Yeah,
it's a lot of fears going on.
That's all you hear is fear, and you got to think. I mean, think about the last 3 years. As Americans, there's been a lot of turbulence, right? I mean, there's been a lot of challenges. People have gone through a lot of situations where, you know, just questioning things in life. You know,
been a lot of loss. A lot of people died.
Yeah,
I spent 17 days in the hospital from COVID in July of 2020. I thought I was going to die. Okay, and I'm not touting my horn, but yeah, that's a reality. But I bounced back. But it's all in the mentality. You got to have a positive attitude. You got to have a positive outlook to things. Everybody looks for the negative. Everybody looks to get their edge on over somebody. You know, you got to have a positive outlook.
Dude, it's so much like that. Everybody wants that edge. You know, it's sales. Like everybody's just pounding and trying to take advantage of a situation. A lot of times, or you know what I mean. That's how it is.
They want the deal today, but they don't think of the bigger picture or what the long-term, investment is for them.
Yeah.
So they want to get the deal today, but they don't realize you pay $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 more in a base price. If the market does turn, you're going to be further underwater than if I sell you a home that's $30,000, $40,000 less than a base price. And that's some of the challenges I have to deal with every day. Well, yeah, you can go buy a deal down the street, but do you want a value? Do you want to get a good value? Because if the market turns and you paid $500 for that same size home, and I'm selling it to you for $470, who's going to be more underwater in the long term? You know what I mean?
Right.
You're going to be further down than I am, and it's going to take you longer to get out of that hole. So that's the challenge today. Is there's no value to people anymore. They don't, or I shouldn't say that. Sorry, folks. People don't realize value anymore. They realize, quick, give me a deal. Quick, give me that. Quick, I got to make money. Quick, it's all slow down. Think about what you're doing. We're all intelligent people here, and I'm sure we've all made mistakes, but we make smarter decisions today because we've made those mistakes.
Absolutely.
Well, if you've made that mistake, or if you've never done it before, wouldn't you want to talk to somebody who's made that mistake and how did they come out of it and what do they do now? Well, that's the best person to learn from, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I never call them failures. I call the learning experiences.
That's exactly. Every successful person will tell you.
Yeah.
How did you get successful? You know how many failures I went through to get to this position?
Oh, yeah.
So I want to say this. So as you look at the market, the problem obviously is home affordability. I've been speaking this into eternity, right? About just people can't afford it, higher rates, higher costs for the, I mean, I think if you had lower cost of homes, then it might not be as bad. But where do we go from here, right? So where do you see the consumer confidence and buyer confidence? Do you feel that we're going to continue to decline heading into next year? Or do you feel like somehow some miraculous thing's going to happen and everybody's going to start to get a little bit more confident in the market?
Well, I used to say people always be careful around election time because it's always tumultuous. People tend to sit the sidelines to see, okay, who's in power or whatever. And I don't want to get political, but I do think it's going to get worse because the challenge is they're trying to break the cycle of spending. But it's okay for the U.S. government to spend all the money, but not you.
Exactly.
Because it's creating inflation. But here, let me give you more incentive to spend money, but now that we've got this inflation, you can't spend it.
Well, I'm going to say this too, and I'm not going to pound my chest here, but I'm going to say something that, I'm going to say that when everybody was getting those stimulus checks, and I'm not going to say that everybody didn't need them, but you had businesses taking money, maybe taking an excess of money that maybe they didn't need. Maybe you could kind of curve that one check. I understand if you really weren't working, maybe there was some, ethical thing there going on. Who knows, right? But it doesn't matter. If you needed it, what's going to happen, right? Well, the outcome is this. We now have inflation. We now have problems, and everybody's was happy spending money on TVs, and everybody's just out partying and having a good time and going on vacation because, in essence, they're really just getting a paycheck to stay home. And the problem is now we're really getting the wrath of it. We're not getting the problems that come with the inflation issues. And people think, well, why is this happening today? Why is the Fed? This was happening in motion a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. You can't get free money. There's no way to get free money and not have some type of outcome from it. And I think that's where people don't look at things. You say, well, question it. Question everything. Why am I getting money? Obviously, it's because of COVID, but why am I getting money? And where's this money coming from? That's the question. Like, we obviously have debt. So I think that's kind of what I was going at is, yes, people needed money. I'm not going to say they didn't, but there's an outcome to this. And there's a consequence. There's a consequence of where we're at today for this, right? And that's what you were saying, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I heard something the other day, and I don't know the truth of it, but I heard if we stopped, and I'm not an isolationist, let me preface it, but if you stopped sending money outside of the United States economy and spent it here for 1 year, you would eliminate all of the United States debt. That we are trillion, what is it, $31 trillion?
31 trillion. And
so you would eliminate all that debt if we stopped giving, and I'm not saying we shouldn't, but if we did, for 1 year, pulled a reset, rather than crashing the economy, unemployment, and hurting the little guy, what if we just said, hey guys, we're your partners around the world, but we need to take a break for a year. You need to go to China or somebody to get your money now, and we're going to pay our debt down to everybody, and then we're going to start over again. And I know it's very.
It's just. Here's the thing.
It sounds logical, but
here's the reality.
I get it.
Here's the reality: is people just want what's in front of them. They don't care about long-term effect. The kids,
dog eat dog.
Yeah, the families and all the people behind them that's going to come through. Like if I was going to have a child today, I would question that.
really?
Yes, I would question it. You have more problems in society today. You have higher inflation than we've ever had. Harder to get into anything today, it seems like, for the most part. And the cost of living and the expenditure you're putting out to raise a kid today is probably 3 times the amount of what it was when I was younger. Why would I want to bring a kid into that? And then all of this stacked on inflation, why would I want to give them that responsibility because we were irresponsible and the people before us were irresponsible?
I have 2 dear friends of mine who are single, don't have children. It is harder probably on them than if you were a single parent because there's more aid, I guess, if you want to put it that way, to single parents than there are to a single person. I'm becoming older, and if I was an old man, retired, no kids, and had to worry about relying on the federal government, I'd be scared to death right now.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but sometimes also your family's not the best.
That's true. But
They could be worse if you don't have the right family.
But if you're alone and you're retired, let's say, and you're living on a fixed income, this world is squeezing you dry right now. If you had not prepared for that, and even if you had, what if you had $100,000 left and you're 70 years old? What do you do?
Here's the only way that you're going to get ahead is you have to figure that if your wages are not increasing as fast as inflation,
Correct. Yep.
and it's not keeping up with that pace, you've already lost.
Yep.
The only way you do that is you have to hedge against some other form of income, some other form of something pulling in where you don't have to work for it technically, in a sense that you maybe invest into something that gives you a return, a monthly return. We're not talking a long-term buying a house and getting, that equity on that house. I'm talking you have to have a month-to-month. Good luck on renting a house today and getting a nice return, right? Yeah. You're still getting higher rents, but you're not going to get enough to sustain the inflation levels. No. So the problem is you're still fighting. You're fighting the position of trying to stay head above water. That's kind of what it is. You're head above water. You're trying to fight that, and I think that's where people are at today. I can't see unless something significantly changes in this market. I can't say I would raise a family here in this market. I would probably refrain from buying into anything until further notice. Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't go buy a house. I'm not saying it because a realtor. It's just you got to pick your poison, right? You got to have a place to stay. You got to have a place to lay your head. I would probably want a fixed payment if I have to get into something like that. But
where do you go for that, though?
As far as what?
As far as getting that low fixed payment and, not have to deal with all the worries of life. I mean, you can't do that anymore.
I think it all goes based on your quality of life, and everybody lives what they consider quality of life is different.
That's right.
And that's where you have to make a decision like, okay, what are some of the things that I don't need that are maybe just I want but not a necessity? And I think if you're in that place where you're like, hey, let me adjust some things just so I can get ahead of the inflation, then you probably need to get rid of some of the things that are not that necessary right now.
Well, there's a lot of people that tell us this is like, hey, just have your blinders on. A lot of successful businesses, what do? They just make it because they have to. They grind and they don't think about anything on the outside. I'm not trying to be that person that's like doom and gloom type situation, but these are things you have to think about. Like, it's not, well, I'm just going to go all in and it's just going to work. Well, if you have an outside force against you that's really combating everything that you're doing, that is a huge challenge that you have to think about. You got to think that inflation is actually an enemy of you at this point.
It is.
It is. You can't go sustain a business, run a household, do all the things that you need to do, and be confident that this is not going to ever change, or that if the Fed decides to raise rates or costs or inflate the market with more money while everybody's out spending, they don't understand what's happening. You guys need to understand, man, this is going to be a problem. And that's when you make that decision. Yeah, I can go and say, you know what? I'm going to have my failures. I'm going to grind. I'm going to do what I need to do. But you have to understand who is your enemy? What is your challenges? And will you need to overcome those challenges? Inflation is a problem. It's a huge problem, not just for people personally.
Inflation is a problem, and it's all been brought on by the government. The government has brought that all on. And it's not to get political, but that's where our inflation comes from. And I think the main thing is if you don't like what's going on in government, or if you whatever, you can always, we serve in the military to provide the opportunity for people to vote. You vote. I think a lot of that has to do with people becoming complacent with where they're at in society. It's like, oh yeah,
my vote doesn't count.
Right, exactly. My vote doesn't count. Bullshit. Every vote does.
So let me say this. So what if here's the problem though I run into is
it doesn't matter.
It's hard to overcome. And go ahead. What were you going to say?
It doesn't matter who you vote for. You just need to vote.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
So the question or the things that I have an issue with is I'm all for voting. I'm all for going out there. The problem I have is how many times have you seen issues where people are voting and then there's voting fraud or potential voting fraud?
Say that.
And here's the thing. You see that over
It's
time.
rigged.
It's not even just rigged. You see it over time and it's like, well, okay, if we're going to go through this process and there's always an issue, then what makes me think that me putting a vote in, even though I know it's important and I understand.
I won't mail my vote in. I go in person.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. You don't go in and mail a vote in to where, okay, yeah, like you say, it's rigged. That gives them every opportunity to rig your vote. You go in person, you vote, you go to, that's what we did. I used to go with my parents.
Some people believe you don't need ID to vote either.
So let me say this.
You need ID to drive a car, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is if you want to, the biggest way to change the situation that we're in right now is to either vote people. I don't ever vote to vote somebody out. I vote because somebody has credentials, or I vote because somebody has a better solution, or they believe in what I believe in. So if you want to change the situation that you're in, you get out there and vote.
So I'm going to say this. I agree with you, Doug, and also I agree with you, Steve. Now here's my issue with it is, so when is the last time though you've had, and we're not going to get political, but
no,
inflation is part of what's happening to everybody in society today. And we have to bring this up, right? Because it's the elephant in the room, everybody knows. But you got to look at it and say, well, if you're saying that I need to vote and I need to go out and vote and it makes a difference, every single leader of every single situation, it seems like over the past years that I've been alive, that I understand how this whole system works, has made it where inflation becomes higher, the debt ceiling becomes higher. It seems that the cost of living and the life that I used to know is no longer there. And it also, you look at these politicians and these people, are they saying things to get a vote? Or are they doing it because they want to back it up with their actions? The problem is with all this inflation and all these things with these voting and all these other things, I always read people by their actions. If you're going to tell me you're going to do something, let's see you do it. If I'm going to do something in life, if I'm going to go work for somebody or do something for somebody, and I say, oh, I'm the greatest thing ever since sliced bread, and I don't show up to work, just words, right? You're done. That's the problem. The problem is you go and you have these people doing this where they're saying, yeah, it's great, vote, you're going to make a difference. Am I? Because it seems like it hasn't really made a difference for anybody on, if you look at you know how I gauge our life? What is your quality of life today? Is it worse than it was 5 or 10 years ago? That's how you gauge if there's somebody's doing a good job. I can't remember in the last 20 years that my life's gotten easier. Can you guys?
Well, you say you don't want to make it political, but it is political. Think about this. We pay all these taxes, and the federal government decides, or even state government, or any government, decides to spend your money the way they think they should spend it. And what I mean by that is, I heard the other day, the governor of California started this train, this high-speed rail from LA to San Francisco 14 years ago.
Yeah.
And was given like $700 million. Now they're saying it's going to cost $100 billion to build it. And it may take 100 years now because obviously, we were making a joke today, me and a buddy of mine, that they may get to one place to put the pylons in and find, oh, well, there's a mosquito there that's the most unique mosquito on the planet and we have to protect it. And now all this, study has to, so it's just going to get more, but 14 years, almost $1 billion and it's not done.
Right.
That's the problem with the world.
Yeah,
We're spending
100%.
money in places where political influence, financial influence is taking over. So everybody will blame corporations for that. Well, I won't get political, but lobbying has done that. The pharmaceutical company's big on that.
Big time.
Okay? Watch TV commercials today. Every other commercial is a pharmaceutical commercial. Okay? Or it's...
But they don't just lobbyist on that. They lobbyist on everything.
But that's what I mean. There's lobbying. Everybody's trying to get a piece of their pie. And I got you now. I gave you money. I want this in return kind of thing.
And no politician should ever go into office thinking that they're going to become millionaires. I mean, that was the biggest mistake.
That too.
Because, I mean, look at...
100%. I agree with you, Doug.
Yeah.
Because they all are now.
That's the way they look at getting into office.
That's right.
Is they go in there
and whose money
become
is it?
millionaires.
And whose money is it?
Yeah.
Right.
You and me.
Go Google net worth of every president that's gone into office. Yeah. And when they leave, look at their net worth.
No, look at Congress.
Well, that's because they write books and they get interviews.
And no. Look at Congress. I think there's only like 2 people out of 100 and something people in Congress that aren't millionaires.
Yeah.
Every other one is going in has become a multi-millionaire while they're in Congress. I mean, come on, it's obvious nowadays, but
that's where our money's going.
That's where revolutions start.
That's where inflation is. That's where inflation is at today. Is that they're spending, like you said, Steve,
spending my money.
They're spending your money, and they're sending it to overseas entities that we have no interest in. We shouldn't have any interest in.
Well, that comes from the imperialistic world that we lived in. I heard the other day they were talking about, England has shrunk considerably as far as their imperialistic control of other nations.
Yeah, they have.
So, and intentionally though, they've intentionally done that. But that's, when you look historically, that's why I don't understand why people want to wipe out history, because history is where where your future should go, because you learn from your history.
But other countries, there's not opportunity like there is here.
Right.
No, there's not. But you also have to understand that people think like, yes, you have opportunity to make money, but the thing about it is that you're obligated to something. See, what people don't understand is when you buy a mortgage, this is why people don't want to buy a house today. They're obligated to a higher payment. They're obligated to a mortgage payment, even though it's fixed. That is a big commitment. I'm not saying that other countries don't have it worse. That's a good point, but they do. I'm not going to say that they don't. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything about every other country, but I can tell you that from my experience being here, if you want to get ahead and you want to make something of yourself or just get ahead in life in general, just to kind of, take advantage of some of the opportunities that are here in the country, you're obligated to an everyday commitment that you have to wake up hitting the pavement running. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't, what are you going to become? And nothing against it, you'll be staying at home, probably, living paycheck to paycheck, probably having an issue with the inflation problems that we see now. If you're a family of 5 and you were struggling before, you're probably on food stamps. You're probably getting some type of supportive help. It's not knocking it. It's just you can't live today comfortably. And if you go back every single decade, every single generation, it gets a little worse. And what I'm saying is with this inflation issue, good luck on all of my nieces and nephews and everybody else that's before, like kids that are going to be, having kids today.
The good news to all this is our money system is going to change, and I think we're going to decide what we're going to have, because I know there's just reading some articles. There's a lot of countries that are going to a go back dollar. I think we're going to have the choice here at some point in the future. Don't know when, but I think we're going to have some point in the future where we're going to decide what our money is going to be. And at that point, Brett on your other show, he talks about the crypto all the time. And I really think that a decentralized currency takes the power away from the government and puts them.
But that's a whole.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother story.
It's another topic, but
I think
I agree.
I think it will change, and our money system is going to change
if it's truly free, though. You got to think if the government comes in and intervenes, and I understand it's decentralized, but mandates that's centralized, potentially we may have an issue. I'm not saying that that's not the way out. It
no
is.
longer decentralized. They monitor it on the stock market every day.
Yeah.
So the federal government's already got their hands in it, and
they already know
the
about
biggest
it.
crackdown on it. I just heard it on CNBC the other day. Federal government's doing their biggest crackdown. I don't know if it's Secret Service, somebody. They're cracking down on crypto, biggest investigation. But in any event,
there is.
I look at it this way. You get on an airplane,
Yep.
They tell you all the safety rules, right? Before you help the person next to you or your child, put your mask on, right? Because you're of no help to them. Well, why are we not helping our country? Why are we going through all this before we help other countries?
Yeah.
So that's just a basic philosophy. Why don't we take care of our own first and then help other people? Or we could do both, but let's not neglect what we're doing here.
Where's the money coming to help the other people?
Well,
I
don't mind sharing wealth.
But what I'm saying is we're printing billions of dollars to help others.
That's the problem.
So if we can't even, if we go down Las Vegas Boulevard, or I wouldn't say Las Vegas Boulevard, downtown, you go to LA, it looks like a third world country.
Right.
If we can't spend money in that sector, but we can spend it over there and it's money we don't have, we have some serious issues to look at.
Yeah, because the rich don't mind. Let them stay there. Let them be homeless. We're getting wealthier.
But the thing too and that's a political thing. I think that also we have a lot of people in the system and there's not a time frame. So if we're giving you stamps and all this stuff to help you, there should be a time frame. Hey, you got 3 years to figure it out.
Or pay it back.
But people stay in the system and they never leave.
If we stop paying all the money overseas, we would eliminate our debt. Everybody could probably get $100,000 in their pocket. They could do whatever they want with them. Stay homeless, buy a house, whatever they want. That's my point, is they're spending so much money that we have no idea about. Let's talk the defense budget. Let's talk the Black Ops. You know how much money is put into that?
Well,
not that we don't need defense, but
this is all on the backs of all these Americans. Look,
Correct.
I understand there's reasons.
That's the problem.
And this is why you're never going to get ahead. I want to keep moving. Great topic, everybody. Let's get into something else here. So I want to talk with Doug here. So Doug,
put your eyes on Doug.
Yeah, Doug, you got your eyes on, buddy?
Hang on a second here.
So we're going to talk here about what's happening, the top 10 commercial construction sectors that's coming on the market, I guess potentially here. So Doug, you have a full.
I got an idea of what's happening here. One of the things I thought was pretty interesting is you brought up the topic of inflation and unemployment. And they're wanting to bring the unemployment up. We've got a lot of projects coming up here, either under construction or in the design phase or whatever the case may be. And I thought it was pretty interesting. And some of these, a lot of these, one we mentioned them earlier was Fertitta's looking at putting a casino in down there at Harmon and Las Vegas Boulevard. And, they're looking at a 43-story building. With a casino in it. Takes people to build that. And I don't know how they can lower the unemployment rate when you have all these projects that are supposed to be going.
Exactly.
You got AllNet Arena and resort going up there by the Stratosphere. That's a 300,000 square foot building. 863,000 square foot, 23,000 seat arena for an all net, no casino. It's like a.
I saw that project. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
It looks really. And Jackie Robinson, I guess he's the one going for it. And we got like Wynn's putting in some 2,716 room casino.
Wynn is.
Yeah.
Really?
Wynn Las Vegas renovations. Yeah. So they're going to go in and add 2,716 rooms.
Nice.
And it looks like it's early construction right now. Arriva. The thing that was interesting to me was there's a lot of projects that are going now that are high-end luxury condos, and they're not necessarily casinos. And so that tells me that people are actually coming here to buy the high-end luxury casinos still, or luxury condos still. Yeah. And so there's a draw. I mean, it's the Mosaic, 797 unit townhouse development. That's down on. Let's see, that's down south, 89166. So that's down south. You got the Pavilion. You got just all these different urbanization, and I think it's all bringing it. The high end, because these apartments are going for anywhere between from a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, from anywhere from $1,800 up to $3,500 to $4,000 a month. So I mean, they're not cheap places. They're live, work, and play. The Uncommons is another one that it's live, work, and play. And so it's I mean, this stuff is still it looks like it's in the works. A lot of early construction, groundbreaking on some of these. They got they're putting in more hospital expansions, and they got the Dream. The Dream is going. The Fontainebleau. They got that going, which I think
Fontainebleau's coming up, right? It's going to be.
I think that's the Dream, right? I think they changed the name.
I think it is.
I think so.
So here's
or
my
the Drew,
question.
I'm sorry,
it's the
Drew.
It is the Drew. So here's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So you see all these projects coming up. You see everything happening across the city. I understand that maybe Las Vegas, I always say, is the outlier compared to other cities and other states because what we see here with the money that's brought here doesn't mean that that's the same thing happening in these other cities and states. Do you feel that even though we're building all of these, buildings and casinos and these luxury places, apartments, townhomes, townhouses, and my thing is, do you guys feel that this is going to continue to happen here? Because you got to think that people wouldn't be building, or investors wouldn't be building unless they knew.
Absolutely.
It's like Steve was saying earlier. They're probably getting good deals on some of the land right now, knowing
tax breaks.
Yeah, because anytime you do a commercial project, there's a tax break on borrowing money from.
They incentivize you to build here because they want the business,
and then they give you a tax break on it, so they're not really paying taxes. And a lot of people don't really get how that works, but it's more to their benefit to build now, knowing what the future is, because they know that it's only going to grow.
So you
regardless,
and that's why you buy a house.
So my question is this: so you're saying Las Vegas is different, it's unique. What do you guys think? You think we're not going to miss a beat as far as investors still investing? It's amazing to me because we want to get higher unemployment. We'll talk about that here in a second. But they keep building here. I don't see any drop off. I still see numerous jobs that are out there for people to take on. Everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere.
Steve knows. I mean, remember back during the crash, and they had all all that land down there, and the builders, the developers, had to sell that land back down by the M, right down that southwest, southeast.
They had to re-amortize the land
re-amortize
to make it affordable. So if you buy land at this high price, and then the market crashes and you can't build on that and charge the price you want to charge because the market doesn't support it. So you have to re-amortize that land to a lower level so when you build, it's affordable for people to buy.
Yeah, and it took, 10 years for it to get to that
And
point,
that's usually
right?
the cycle.
Yeah,
It's 10
and
years.
and so, but now they're building like crazy down there in the southeast, down by the M, and I think that's probably why Marnell is actually building more units down there, is because they're the residential, like we were talking earlier.
Inspirada's growing. So
Inspirada's growing.
It supports all that commercial development.
They're going to wait till Inspirada builds out. Then they're going to go into whatever they're going to call down there in the southeast section down there by the M.
That's why if you don't buy a home today, it's going to really be unaffordable 5 years from now. Because if Shaq or anybody brings a basketball team here, or we get another baseball team.
I read they've
from another
already got
state-
plans.
No, I know, but that's my whole point. We're a growing city.
Still.
Prices are not going to go down. They're only going to go up. You might have a dip
It's
in a year or
frustrating.
two.
Yeah.
But if you're not a landowner or a homeowner, you're not going to benefit.
So you guys agree that Vegas is the outlier, even though
Absolutely.
even though you see that everything's going on, this is not what's happening
When
anywhere else.
When
really.
I saw this all these luxury townhomes, condos going in, that only means money. These people don't want to come in and live down on Maryland Parkway in an apartment building. They're looking to spend some money, and so when the builders can actually build the properties and get the tax incentives for building the properties while we're in the downturn that we're in right now, and who knows when that's going to end, and who knows when the recovery is going to happen, but they've got the opportunity right now, and I think they see it. I think they see what's happening here, and with all the sports teams, the basketball teams.
They're the true speculators.
They are.
They know what's going on.
But they also actually govern the way the city
that
goes
too. That's
as well.
exactly it, yeah.
So, yeah.
And you guys have any last thoughts? Because we got to keep moving. We're running out of time here. So you brought up really good points today. A lot of things happening around Las Vegas. Again, there's a lot of positive things, right? A lot of positive growth.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of job opportunity. I think that's why when you come to Vegas, it's almost like a start over for people, right? I can set up somewhere else that's relatively a new city. It's not terribly old. And then you also have a lot of opportunity, and there's always something new happening. There's always something different being built. You'll never have to worry. If you're a bartender, I would never want to be a lifer, right? You don't want to be a lifer bartender.
Right.
That's just me, right? Or somebody, nothing wrong with it. I know people that make, double, 6 figures, right? Doing bartending or doing cocktail waitressing.
Yeah.
It's just, you want to live that life. That's not for me, but there's opportunity out here, and it's not going to go away. It's just the desire to be in Vegas and the aura of Vegas when you invest in Las Vegas. That's why investors keep investing back into the system here.
And it's still, just as an example, I was looking, I found out there was a place that I lived when I was in the Marine Corps. I lived down in Southern California in this house, and I just kind of looked the address up the other day. They were selling that house for $175,000 down off of the Costa Mesa Freeway, wherever that, the 55 yeah. And they were selling that house for I think it was $175,000. And I was thinking back in 1988.
A lot of money.
I'm like, damn, man, I can't afford that. And so I had to figure out what to do, and I went and drove trucks. And
now what's it worth?
$1.1 million for that 1960 house.
Wow.
And it's probably 1,000 square feet. 3 bedrooms, too bad.
It's 1,096 actually
there
is what
you
it was.
I knew
And it was 3 bedrooms, and it had a fireplace in it, whatever, But it was, but that's, you got to keep in mind, that kind of thing can happen here because we're still, the real estate is still
going to happen here.
fairly cheap.
Happen here.
And it's, we've got a house. I swear to God, I'm not leaving that house because we're in a great location and near the airport and near Henderson, the district. It's like a really good location. I told my wife we're not moving. We're not selling this thing.
Do whatever it takes. Buy a house.
Yeah.
You want to shoot your address on? No, I'm just playing.
Yeah,
Just tell us where your address is at, real quick.
Are we invited to your house?
All right, let's keep moving. All right, so we got to keep moving. So we're going to talk here about the next topic, which is a good jobs report. Why the Fed doesn't want a good jobs report. And we all know that a good jobs report is something that is going to counter the inflation issues we see, yet people still go out and spend money. The target rate for the unemployment is 4.4%, and they can't get past that. The job sector is just really strong, right? It has a lot of really positive news every week to week. So,
but there's 10 million people out of work.
Okay, so
Doesn't make sense.
how many people have 2 jobs out of that unemployment?
That's what I mean,
rate?
but
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. It's
well, but here's my thing: is that as long as the job market is there, people are going to spend money, and the problem is you have all these people that have stacked money. A lot of them did. A lot of them have set themselves up pretty nicely. Businesses are still going, and yet people still are willing to spend. They're not saving and having that mindset trigger of, oh wait, rates are going up, everything's changing. Let me go ahead and save that money and keep it for a rainy day. That thought process is completely out the window, right? Now what people are doing is, hey, if I got a credit card, we're going on vacation. We're going somewhere, right? It's almost like, I don't know if people's minds, I'm not saying everybody's that way, but that's the data that's coming back. So the unemployment numbers are really, really good right now. It's very low. And do you guys feel that we're going to ever hit that 4.4% that the Fed wants, because they feel that's pretty much the last domino that's going to happen before we're actually in a recession, which I feel we're already in a recession based upon, we've been. I know we're in a housing recession, but from their perspective that the unemployment is still very low, they need that to kind of get that whole process going with the inflation getting retracted. What do you think?
Well, they can hit whatever they want to hit, and it's how they do it, in my opinion. Because I listened to something the other day, and the transportation secretary wants to just snap his fingers and make gasoline cars illegal. Basically, he wants to get rid of gasoline cars, and if you do that,
yeah, but that's not.
You cut the pipe. Yeah, but I mean that's what they want to do. That was when the words come out of their mouth. That's the thing where you just kind of got to watch, and they cut the pipeline down. They do whatever. They start taking away jobs. You're gonna raise the inflation. The unemployment rate.
So what do you think the Fed's gonna do to get that unemployment rate higher? What do you think they're going to do? Are they going to continue to? Obviously, the inflation is going to be an issue. Do you think businesses are going to turn back employers? I don't feel like it's ever going to be a problem here for employment here, but maybe other parts of the country it will.
But you got the coal miners. They're trying to make they're trying to demonize natural gas and oil and coal. They're trying to they're shutting all that stuff down. They shut the land. So I think in other parts of the country, I think they're probably trying to get people out of work. Here, you got casinos, you got people coming in. Those casinos got to operate. You got to have people operating them. I don't know that the unemployment rate for this part, they might be able to do it somewhere else in the country, but I don't think they're going to do it here.
Obviously, it's raising rates, and that's the plan, right? Pulling all the levers that they can. What else can they do, Steve? Can they do anything else besides just raising the Fed's fund rate and then just hopes that people start to catch on that they're going to start saving and then unemployment starts to creep up? Is there anything else that you've seen in your lifetime that the Fed has tried to do?
It's hard to guess it now because things are totally different from 30, 40 years ago. Sorry, I'm that old, but they're going to do whatever it takes is what they're going to do to get to that number.
Yeah.
To break the economy. That's what they're going to, and
what about like raising tariffs, right? That's an idea, right? Raising tariffs to.
No, they'll raise your taxes before they do that.
You don't think so?
No, they've already cut tariffs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things they could be doing and they're not. They could be producing oil and gas and they're not. They're going to terrorist countries to say, "Oh, please give me some oil."
Yeah.
One of the things too is that I was looking this up. The refinery, they're saying, well, Las Vegas has the highest gas prices in all of the country.
Or the second.
Second.
California.
And I'm like, well, why is that? They're saying, well, it's because the refinery in California,
say that.
Yeah, it's always the California thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, let's just blame it on that. Why do you guys think we have such a high gas price here? I mean,
we have some of the highest gas taxes. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's the reason. Because the station owners don't make any money. Yeah. It's the governments that make the money on it.
It's like 30 cents a gallon normally here, whereas other states 10, 15 cents.
So you guys think just the only thing that the Fed can do at this point is just keep raising rates?
They're going to.
They're going to have to, right? The objective for the Fed is to raise the rates again 75 basis points in November. This is what I've heard. another 50 basis points going into December. And then in the first quarter, I think it's in February when they have that meeting, because January, I don't think they have a meeting. They're going to raise it another quarter of a point. And by that time, they're supposed to plateau. And they're saying, well, that's going to really change that trajectory of.
So my thing is with that.
What causes inflation, though?
What's that?
What causes inflation? Too much money chasing too few goods.
Right.
So we had a supply chain issue, right? So supply chains are probably loosening up a little bit, but how did those supplies get there? By train, by car, by truck, by van. What is that fueled by? Gasoline and diesel. So what if you produced the most amount of gas and diesel you can to bring the price down? Maybe, just maybe, those prices of those products will come down.
Yeah, but they're not. They'd rather get it from a different country, though.
That's my point, is if they...
Because they want control and they want to dip their hand in
right,
other
but Dan asked me,
areas,
what could the Fed
how-
do? Well, the Fed could say, hey, listen, start producing some gas and oil. That'll bring the price of gas down. That'll lower the cost of the products.
Well, I think it's just when you look at the employment, though, and the 4.4% target that they get, somehow they feel that if they get there, that's really going to...
You mean unemployment?
The unemployment, yeah, the unemployment number. If they get there, it's going to accelerate the position that the inflation's going now, going back down to that 2%. So I guess it's just, I mean, is it really going to make a big difference? Because I don't know. It's weird. Maybe we have so much population and maybe we have so many things going on, so many layers to our economy now. How are you going to really dictate and control all of those things that's happening with a few levers that you have now? I think it's starting to get to a point where you got to think the Fed has put out all of these ideas of this is what we think it's going to be on the economic, as far as data, as far as growth, GDP. They haven't been right about any of it.
Nope.
None
and
of
there's
it.
800
None.
PhDs in the Federal Reserve and 23,000 college graduates, and they can't get it right.
Yeah, it's people a lot smarter than us.
And they're not even the government.
No.
They're not even the government.
Yeah.
So I don't know. To me, I'm just saying, what other levers do they have to get to that 4.4%? Maybe raising the rates. I don't know. Maybe raising taxes on businesses. I don't know. I mean, what else could they do?
Well, I mean, if you look at it from a standpoint of goods and durable services, consumers' goods, we're already at probably somewhere between 20 and 30% because our gas prices have doubled. And then it's the nickels and dimes on everything. It's going to the grocery store and seeing that your bread is $4 a loaf instead of $2 a loaf. You still need that bread, And so when your grocery cart used to cost $150 and now it costs $300, you've actually doubled the price of what you have to pay, and it's the inflation is way higher than what they thought it was.
Yeah,
or what they're saying it is.
I think with the food prices and things like that. I mean that. Do you think that's ever going to get back in check, or is this the new norm? I think the thing is,
the new norm.
People don't understand, or I think
sadly to say,
it is because I think people are thinking, well, this thing's going to turn at some point when the Fed says the inflation's coming down. Then all of a sudden, all these costs. No, it's a psychological thing where you're going to get through this process. You're going to figure out how to make it because people are survivors. A lot of people out there are survivors. You're going to now figure out how to figure this out, right? And all of a sudden, it's going to be like, oh, by the way, a year from now. Oh, a loaf of bread's still $5. Well,
that's normal.
That's normal.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, but I thought the inflation came down 2 months ago.
So the only way
that's not really true.
The only way that would kill an economy is if it went from, say, $2 a loaf up to $12 a loaf.
Well, that's hyperinflation.
Well, yeah.
That's crazy.
And that would actually, food prices like that would kill an economy.
I just came back from Hawaii, and everybody said to me, "Did you see what the price of a gallon of milk was?" I said, "Well, I don't drink milk. I could care less."
It was $12 when I went.
$12. Now, why do you think that is?
Because you're sending
shipping
it.
Well, why, yeah. And what is that?
And it was an island.
And I understand that, but you're shipping it in a tanker that uses diesel fuel. So if the price of gas and diesel has gone up, that gallon of milk went from $8 to $10 to $12. So you really have to look at the energy costs. I just got a letter from NV Energy. We're on the balanced budget monthly. We
are too.
And got the letter that says we're not going to be able to ensure that because 40% of our electricity is produced from natural gas.
So
because of the market, you're going to pay $100 more instead of $153. It's $253 a month, and
we
we
got
can't
the same
guarantee it's
thing.
going to be the same every
We got
month.
the same thing. They blame natural gas
Yeah.
on the higher energy prices.
So it's all a squeeze and it's all a lie.
Well, and let me say this. So I was pretty pissed off about it recently. I'll just tell you, I got my bill.
You
Wait
should
a
be.
second.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here and I was talking to him. I'm like, so you're telling me it's a penny on every kilowatt
yeah.
increase?
Did you see the big
And-
Ivanpah solar panels out there?
Yeah.
How do you think they're paying it? You're paying more, I'm paying more, he's paying more. They got to pay that off somehow, and that's free energy for them now.
So here's my philosophy. They'll never do it, and I understand why. But it's like this. So they say, well, we send a beam out to your meter, and it sends a signal back and tells us exactly how much you
Yeah.
used. So here's my question on that. It's getting a little techie. That's
Yeah.
fine. Can we get our own meter? Right now, I'm not saying we're gonna.
You can
but
actually
think about that.
Well-
And that way, listen, I'm not saying they're wrong, but there's got to be a way to hold these companies accountable, these big corporations.
Okay,
right?
so
wait a
I
second.
do.
Hold
I
on,
do.
back-
I do.
I have a story about that.
Back to the solar.
Yeah, okay.
What about all the excess energy that everybody's been sending back to the grid?
Right on the
What's
solar
happened
panels.
to that?
Yeah,
Where's
exactly.
that
Crazy.
energy?
That's
Why
You're
are
right.
we not
solar
paying
panels are
lower
doing.
rates because of that?
I agree.
Don't get me started.
Oh yeah,
I'm already
because
fired
those
up.
solar panels on homes are actually a power plant for NV energy.
And you're paying for it. $20,000, $30,000, $40,000.
And so you get these solar companies calling all the time saying, hey, sign up for solar, save money. You don't really save that much
No,
money.
you don't say
They get the tax credit. You don't get it.
because okay. So here's the thing: is what Steve just brought up. You get your energy prices are going up, or your electric prices are going up because of natural gas. If you have natural gas in your home and you're putting solar panels on there, your natural gas is going up and your electricity is going up. So if you have just solar panel or just electric in your home, it would maybe be more beneficial, but it's still not, because it's still, you have to clean those solar panels for the efficiencies. The efficiencies drop over time. I mean, there's a lot to.
Here's another question. We're at a 40-year high on inflation, and we've talked a lot about inflation. Do you think this is the best time to raise prices on energy?
No,
Right?
that's the whole point.
It's just amazing to me that you have a corporation not even think twice.
especially when there's a
people-
solution for it.
Yeah,
Not a corporation. It's a government that's saying that, because the government stopped all exploration, all oil production,
Land leases.
and land lease, everything. They stopped it with a signature on a piece of paper. And now they've waged war, and I'm a believer, they waged war against the energy. Now, you take a country like ours, who for the past, 100 years has been reliant upon that, and the technologies we have. I mean, look what Elon Musk has done. He's actually revolutionized the auto industry. Okay? So we can revolutionize anything if we really want to, but you got to have a plan. You can't just go out there and say, okay, like look at Rivian. Rivian's trying to bump into they're going to produce 25,000 cars this year. Well, Elon Musk was there. Maybe in 10 years they'll be at 125,000 cars.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere. But you got to have a plan. They don't have a
Well,
plan.
there's got to be something better than this, right? I mean, you can't have highest prices of all costs of inflation and then have this happen. So, anyways, let's keep moving. I think that the unemployment numbers are going to keep staying strong until we see further notice. And again, I don't think we have all the answers. We're just trying to give our opinion. Maybe it is just the rates is what's going to happen where we see that unemployment number go up. That's all they can do, I think, at this point. Anyways, I don't know if there's any other leverage to pull. So,
Well, it's squeezing the credit card debt too, because every time they raise the interest rate, your interest rate in your credit card's going to go up. Because if you have an adjustable rate credit card, you're getting hammered right now. So it's going to really squeeze
So
the
pay
little
it
guy.
every month.
It's going to squeeze
Yeah.
the little guy.
So let's talk about this. So everybody out there, we all know that you guys are always thinking about next year. What's happening next year? My next year resolution. The next year when I'm going to lose that 30 pounds that stays on every year. So I don't want to get that. New Year's resolution. Well, why don't you do it now? But anyways, so you got the New Year's. Let's talk about the New Year's resolution of housing. Let's talk about what the economy is going to look like here in Las Vegas, and also what we see moving forward in the country as well. What are your guys' opinions on what's going to happen here in Las Vegas in the end of 2022, heading into 2023? Do you feel like this market is going to continue to stumble? Anybody?
I think my opinion only, is I think a lot is riding on what happens during this next election. And I think if things go towards people getting voted out of office that are actually destroying this country, I think we got a good shot at seeing a good recovery next year. I do know. So I learned a lot during the last crash. Our money system is a fractional reserve money system. So the Federal Reserve Bank loans it to the banks.
So basically what you're saying is you only need a fraction of money for them to take your money and lend it out 9 times more.
Exactly.
Right?
So we're at from an engineering standpoint, if you look at it from, we've got a load of money out on the tip of the beam that's actually going to bust that beam because there's no more lending it. So our money system, I believe, my opinion, I believe our money system is going to change in 2023. It has to.
Change to what?
Well,
that's a pretty big. I'm not going to say it's outlandish, but I'm going to say that's a pretty big thing here.
But I think I've talked to some people that I actually talked to people back when I had my engineering company back in 2008. And they said our dollar system was dead. They were actually predicting that it would go away in 2012.
Well, China would love to crash the dollar.
They'd love to crash the dollar, but I think there's going to be an alternative to it. I think there's so much going on out there, and I know that the other countries are going gold back, and I know we've got the potential for going decentralized currency. I think there's a lot of potential for another type of currency, and it's happened over time. Like you were saying, history does repeat itself, and we've actually seen the greenback back in the 1800s. We've seen different currencies come into play, and with the fractional reserve banking taking us off the gold standard, I think our money system that we know today from the Federal Reserve note, I think it's dead.
Yeah, but let me say this: the dollar, though, is very strong right now. And it's predominant,
and the reason it's
very
strong.
And there's forces in the world that don't want that.
Yeah, and the other thing is too is it's actually the Federal Reserve note. It's not a U.S. dollar. It's a Federal Reserve note. It keeps going up, and what it does is it drives the other currencies down around the world.
What I was going to say too is it's still the predominantly it's the used currency across the world.
Not
still.
anymore.
And you're saying it's changing,
Yeah,
right?
because
they're trying to change it.
Yeah, because they don't take the U.S. dollar or the Federal Reserve note for oil. That's no longer a petrodollar. So it's like, so if we can't exchange oils or dollars for oil, and other countries don't accept the dollars for oil, then where we go?
So you're saying, just to kind of end it for you, because I want to get your guys' opinion, you're saying that we're going to go to a different currency. What do you think is going to happen with the economy here and the housing market here?
I think we're going to see a turnaround. I think we're going to. I think in 23.
When's bottom?
I don't know. But I think
give your best guess. When do you think bottom will be?
Sometime in 23, second quarter.
Okay, Steve.
I think the bottom is unknown because the minute you identify the bottom, you're too late.
Yeah.
It's too late.
It's tough to call, but I
don't think there's ever going to be a bottom because your
well,
chart
what I mean is
up.
this: where you have the supply chain of housing and the demand is balanced, and what I mean is
not happening.
You don't think it's happening?
Nope.
You're not sure.
It's no. First of all, the country is too depleted of any kind of inventory. And we talked about this last time. What's the new normal? Is it 10, 15,000 homes, 6 months supply, but our population has doubled, maybe even tripled in the next 10, 15 years? So what is the new normal for an inventory? So is the demand always going to be higher than the inventory? Yeah, probably, because the growth is here.
Esmeralda, what do you got?
I agree with that. I think that we can't identify the ending, but I know that interest rates will go up because I talked to the rep for Fannie Mae and she told me that. But she's like, yeah, it's going to go up.
Who's Fannie Mae? No,
I mean, but you know.
It's her best friend.
Yeah. So she was like, I don't care
what
what
Who's this lady, Fannie?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just saying like the people that represent, and needless to say, they said, hey, it's going to go up no matter what happens. So that, yes, I think we're going to adjust, but I don't think that we're going to drop the way that we think we are.
Fannie's married to Freddie.
Yeah.
Right. I'll tell you this. So
Fannie,
my opinion is I agree with some of the statements. I think the economy is not going to really miss a beat. I think we may see a higher unemployment number across the country, but Vegas is always going to be desired, so you're always going to have people. We really don't see the aftershock or after effect of the Fed raising the rates as far as the employment. So I think the employment's going to stay strong here. I do feel that, like you said, I agree with you. Probably the second quarter, maybe heading into the summertime, that's when I feel we're not going to ever probably get to that balancing act. It's a very tall task to do where you get the amount of demand versus supply is right there and it's balanced. But what I can tell you is that I feel that the prices of homes may stop at that point and stabilize, and we're not going to see they're going to jump back up. We're going to now see a market where we're probably 1% to 3%, very slow increase year over year for the time being. And I think the economy itself in Vegas, people are still going to want to move here. They're still going to come from California and all these other places because
Internationally,
because
14 months of record-setting revenues for the casinos.
Right.
Well, you know why
Exactly.
though? That's all gambling though.
Yeah, but that's the majority of the revenues of this state.
Yeah, I mean, gambling is still there. People, and look, if casinos are still building, people are still coming. If you build it, they will come, right?
right.
So that's the issue. So let's move on. I want to get this done. We got to end the show here. So I want to talk with Esmeralda about what's going on with solar. What's happening, girl?
Well, so I had a few people come over my house, and I've looked into it, and I was just like, okay, let me look at this. So some of the positives that I thought was the $12, and everybody's like, oh God, I didn't fall for anything. I was just listening, and so I was like, okay. So there was
gathering information.
yeah, and so someone presented
Wait a
it
second,
to.
what's $12? Is that the connection fee?
I don't know. I'm just giving you guys an example.
All right.
So how they presented it, and I thought was really sharp. They said, okay, if I told you that 15 years ago you can save money on spending gas, and you bought this, we'll just say like the solar, and that would help you save gas 15 years ago, and you could save that money and just pay whatever amount, 30 grand, and never have to pay it again. Would you think that was a smart investment?
You know what I think?
I was like, oh, well, it depends, if I'm going to be at this home for a long period of time. I look at,
They have energy efficient. The air conditioning units they have now today are very energy efficient.
yeah.
They have pool pumps. If you have a pool, they have pool pumps that have variable speed pumps. That's $100 off your bill right there. And you pay half of what you would pay for solar to upgrade your AC units. So you have your stove, you have your electricity, but if you go on a what do you call that when you go average your bill over the
level billing?
level billing? You go level billing. We went from $450 a month during the hot time of the year, yeah, like the April, May to September, and we now went on that level billing, and we're like $169 a month. I mean, that's a big savings for a lot of people, and we spent less than half the money on the solar, because I was thinking about that, doing the same thing that you're doing, but yet we have gas. We have a gas water heater. We have gas furnaces. We have a gas oven, gas stove. So it didn't really make sense to me. And it's like, if nothing else, if you did go that route, then you'd want to get like a heat pump or something, that would work off of your electricity instead of working off of natural gas.
So, okay, so I did look into it, and then what happened at Florida when they went through that whole storm, well, none of the solar panels worked. So
Right.
So then that scared me, and I was like,
The other thing is
I was like, well,
disposal.
So
You're looking long term. Look at the disposal in 20 years. And I mean, I worked on a project up at Monix, and they went belly up. They couldn't get their solar panels marketed, I guess, whatever the case was. And but those panels are good for 15 to 20 years. Then what do you do with them then?
Yeah, absolutely. You got anything else?
No, that was all. I just wanted to get your input. What would you guys do?
Well, let's do this. We got to end the show. So I want to say this. We went way off, as I always do. So you can blame it on me. But anyways, I think we had a lot of interesting things to talk about today, and I wanted to get through it. One last thing is I want to say there's a couple of questions here. Running at altitude, big shout out. We don't have Taco Tuesday on today, or DJ. They didn't make it, but that's okay. They're here every Tuesday and Saturday. Vegas Coin, big shout out from him. Vegas Coin is a gentleman that I believe is a gentleman that's from Chuckett's another platform I work on, go with them. So he has some questions. He kind of went over here. So he says, it was nice to catch up with you, Dan. I've been falling behind. I used to catch up every episode you guys made. Yeah, appreciate the support. Honestly, I really do. The power companies don't want your energy. He said, I had a few, but meaning a few drinks, I think. But the power companies want your RECs. I don't know what that means. RECs. What is that?
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe you can enlighten us on that. If you have a solar,
Receivables?
I guess, I don't know. He also put solar power battery bank for a geothermal heating and cooling is an idea I think is very smart. Oh, DJ is here. DJ is here. What's up, buddy? What's going on, man? I appreciate the support from DJ, Taco Tuesday, everybody out there, man. You guys are really what makes the show. So I want to say this. Solar panel battery bank for a geothermal heating and cooling is an idea I think is very smart. Do you guys understand that? Because that's kind of over my head.
Yeah, geothermal. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you're just taking a heat from the ground.
Different
Basically,
source.
different
Yeah.
source. Yeah.
Just a different source.
Yep.
What do you think about that idea?
Geothermal.
Expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive to get started.
Really?
But yeah.
All right, guys, that's it. So we're going to end the show. We went way above the time frame. I want to say thank you guys. You guys know, subscribe to the channel. This is the most real and behind the scenes information, not just on real estate and financing and money talk entrepreneurs, but really everything Las Vegas. We try to give it to you as factual and as opinionated as we can. Please, if you guys have any questions, please let me know through the comment section. And for Esmeralda, thank you for coming on, the beautiful Esmeralda Lucia.
Thank you for having me here.
Awesome. And then also, Steve.
Yes.
Dude, how does somebody get a hold of you? And what are you about? Talk to you, what you do.
702-499-5618.
What do you do, Steve?
I sell KB homes in the Southwest.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say this. I walked in and I was there and I was a little green when I was walking in because I just got there. I'm trying to get the specs of the house. Steve started pointing everything out like, this is this, this is this. This guy was firing off and it was just going at me. And I was like, man, Steve, you got to come on my show, man. You got to come on. You got to fire up. So I just want to say
thank you again for that because I love doing this. This is fun.
Dude, it's awesome. And I want to say thank you for coming on. You don't have to do that, but you definitely make a big part of the show this today.
Thank you.
But you also bring a lot to the show, including Doug. And Doug, thank you, man. So how does somebody get a hold of you?
702-806-5280.
And what do you do, Doug?
Home inspections. I've been doing them for about 20 years.
You guys know this is the channel, right? So tune in. LV Home Professionals, check out the website. It's a great place to get started if you're looking to buy a home, a new home, resale, anything you guys want. I'm always putting out information there, so check that channel out. And that's it. We'll see you guys on Saturday. We'll have a great show. We have our new co-host, Larissa, and Brett's going to be back. We have a lot of good information. We'll see you guys then. Thank you for watching the French Workbench Podcast. You can find us here every Tuesday at 6 p.m. and Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. to find out all the information on real estate and financing here in Las Vegas. Also, check us out on our LV Home Professionals website. You can find your future home there, a lot of good information, and you can find us on audio only.